Ladies and gentlemen, my next guest is a stand-up comedian and host of the podcast, You Could Do That on Television. Please welcome Mohanad Elshieky.
Thank you, thank you. Thank you so much, everyone. Very excited to be here. I do comedy full-time, and I love doing comedy. It's the best job ever. Years ago, I used to work in retail and customer service, hated that. It's the worst. I think customer service is the closest thing we have to the draft. You know, it's bad. And I did it for so long, it's the main reason I don't believe that all lives matter, you know? Like, you do it for a few months, and then you're like, well, not everyone. And I used to work at this place, and not too long ago, I've been told by friends that I need to stop mentioning the company's name on stage so they don't sue me. So I guess I can't name them, but they do sell iPhones. So it surely could be anyone. We will never know. And one thing that used to happen to me a lot in customer service is that customers, sometimes they would hear my accent and they would try to guess where I'm from, which, you know, is like a fun game for both of us. And I remember I had this one guy who approached me and he was like, hey, dude, I'm gonna ask you something, and I know this is gonna be like a white dude thing to ask. And I was like, don't tell me that. My eyes gave me the heads up. And then he was like, I just wanted to ask, are you Persian? And I was like, no, I'm not, you know, because I'm not. And then he replied with so much confidence, and he was like, are you sure though? I was like, I don't know, it seems like you know what you're talking about. Like, I had a long day, maybe I forgot. Like, what do I know? The customer is always right. And then he said, no, I'm just asking because my dad is Persian. And I was like, oh, okay, do you think I'm your dad? Like, and by the way, I'm not. Like, I would have known if I had a kid who was older than me. And I travel a lot for comedy, and recently I was in Portland, Oregon. And if you've been, yes, amazing. And if you've been to Portland, then you know a lot of people there are super annoying. It's a culture, and I respect it. And I remember I called this car to come pick me up, and this Uber driver showed up, and he saw that I had a carry-on and a suitcase with me. And he was like, hey, dude, are those yours? And I was like, you know, I'm holding them, really hope so. And he was like, you should have let me know. I don't have space. Where am I supposed to put this? And I was like, I was hoping in your car. And then we had so much back and forth. And you know, he was like, you should have let me know about the luggage. And I was like, my bad. I should have let you know about the luggage. I just thought that you could tell from context clues, like the fact that you're picking me up from the airport. You know, like, what's going on? Are you new here on this planet? Like, do you think I work here? I don't know. I just arrived, just a civilian. And then we eventually got into his car, and he had so many questions to ask me. Like, halfway through the ride, he looks at me and he's like, hey man, can I ask you something? And I was like, I don't think I have a choice. But just to save you time, not Persian. And then he was like, oh, you just have a bit of an accent. I was like, mm-hmm. And he was like, where are you from? So I said, I'm from Libya. And then he was like, thank you. And then he was like, that's very cool, man. I have a cousin. He works in Saudi Arabia. And I was like, that's also a country. I'll give you that. And then he was like, one more question. And I was like, sure, ask. And he was like, I just wanted to ask, are you into crypto? And I was like, dude, I would have rathered if you said something racist. Like, why would you say that to my face? Is that the vibe I'm giving off? I'll throw myself out of the car right now. But I did grow up in Libya, not to brag, and I grew up in the city of Benghazi, which I'm sure you've only heard good things about. And over a decade ago or so, I was driving my car back home, and I got stopped at a checkpoint. And a lot of these checkpoints back then were controlled by these militias. They were like everywhere. And when I say militias, I mean groups like ISIS. I'm not sure if you guys remember them. They kind of fell off. And I think about them sometimes. I'm like, no, did they make it through the pandemic? It's true, which I'm sure they did. Those guys famously wore masks, so. So I'm sure ISIS is doing just fine, is the point. And if you're wondering, and recently I was traveling, and sometimes when you go, you're at the airport and you go through the TSA, they see something in your bag that they don't recognize, so they have to take it out to look at it. And the thing that they saw in my carry-on was a notebook. They were like, we've never seen anything like this before. And then the agent took it and he was like looking inside. And I was like, what are you doing? And he was like, oh, I just want to see what's inside. And I was like, inside the notebook? Probably words. Like, are you not familiar with words? You want me to define them? They're like speech that you hear with your eyes. Yeah. And then he eventually released it back to me. And the only reason I didn't want him to look inside is I write most of my jokes there, and I only write a sentence or so to remind me what it is. And at the time, the notebook was new. And all it had was, I'm sure ISIS is doing just fine. And where do you go from there? I don't know. Anyway, my name is Mohanad Elshieky. That's been my time, everyone. Thank you so much. Thank you. Thank you so much.
You can see Mohanad in Brooklyn at Union Hall this Sunday. Mohanad Elshieky, everybody. We'll be right back.